Police body camera footage from last week's FBI elections office raid. Take a look.
Where's it? Ma'am, you gotta move. Get out of it. Get moving.
$7.8 tons of fentanyl hidden inside medical equipment labeled as rehabilitation supplies. A unanimous jury verdict that simply vanished overnight. And $146 million laundered through elder care fraud to fund the largest drug corridor in the Midwest. For 16 months, they moved money with military precision. Then federal agents tore open 784 sealed crates and discovered this wasn't Medicaid fraud. It was a narcotics empire disguised as health care. 4:22 a.m., a grain distribution yard in rural Minnesota. The temperature hovering near freezing. Federal strike teams converge from 2 states. No sirens, no flashing lights, just synchronized watches and tactical discipline. Highway units seal secondary roads. Aerial support holds position overhead. The target is a warehouse labeled temporary medical storage. Thermal scans show reinforced interior walls. This isn't a storage facility, it's a fortress. The breach comes fast, locks fail, flashbangs detonate, resistance is brief and controlled. Inside, agents find rows of reinforced containers, 784 in total, each one sealed, labeled as rehabilitation equipment. False floors hide additional storage. K9 units alert immediately. Portable analyzers confirm high-purity fentanyl residue. If you believe fraud that funds drug empires deserves life sentences, tap like now and comment, expose the network. The same pattern repeats at the other sites. Coordinated entry, rapid control, no chaos, just precision. Analysts on-site run capacity models as the raid unfolds. Based on crate volume and turnover, this corridor is capable of moving roughly 7.8 tons of narcotics over 2 years. Enough to poison entire regions. Enough to explain why the money moved the way it did. Encrypted scanners recovered at the sites show outbound shipments coded under healthcare and humanitarian classifications. Reducing inspections. The camouflage isn't physical, it's bureaucratic. But this raid didn't start with intelligence on drug trafficking. It started 16 months earlier with a Medicaid fraud investigation and a jury verdict that should have ended everything, but didn't. Type verdict vanished if you're ready to see how the system failed. Just weeks before those raids, a Minnesota courtroom delivered what should have been the end of the story. A unanimous jury verdict, guilty. Prosecutors called it one of the clearest public benefit fraud cases they had ever presented. The evidence was clear, the numbers lined up, and the timelines left no room for doubt. Then, without a new hearing, without new witnesses, and without disputing the financial facts, the verdict was erased. The ruling didn't say the fraud didn't happen. It acknowledged irregular cash flows, unexplained withdrawals, and spending patterns that made no sense. But it introduced one sentence that changed everything. The possibility that another unseen actor might be responsible. With that, accountability dissolved overnight. Inside the prosecution offices, there is no outrage, just silence, because everyone understands what that means. If a verdict built on 16 months of investigation, thousands of documents, and precise financial analysis can disappear like that, the question is no longer who committed the crime. The question is whether the system will stand behind its own decisions at all. Comment system failure if you see the bigger threat. For more than 16 months before that ruling, investigators followed the money with discipline. What began as a routine audit expanded into a full financial reconstruction. Over 8,200 benefit claims were tied to 3 elder care providers that barely existed beyond paperwork. Reported revenue surged more than 300%. In under 2 years, without any real increase in staff, facilities, or services, funds arrived, were broken into smaller transfers, and moved again within hours. Account balances reset overnight, then refilled days later through new claims. The pattern repeated again and again. At trial, prosecutors didn't rely on speculation. They relied on math, timelines, bank records, and internal ledgers. The jury needed less than 6 hours to return a unanimous verdict. Everything worked the way it was supposed to, which is why what followed unsettled far more than the defendants. Type 6 hours if you see how clear the evidence was. But long before the verdict vanished, analysts had noticed something that didn't fit ordinary fraud. The money didn't behave like stolen income. It moved with restraint and coordination. Over 9 months, more than 500 cash withdrawals happened between 12:30 and 4 a.m. across multiple branches, always just below reporting thresholds. When those withdrawal spikes were matched with warehouse leases and overnight freight schedules, the picture changed. This wasn't theft, it was preparation. At 4:22 a.m., analysis turned into action. Federal command authorized 3 coordinated entries across 2 states. Highway units sealed secondary roads. Aerial support held position. Tactical teams moved without sirens, guided only by synchronized watches. The primary warehouse sat behind a grain distribution yard, labeled as temporary medical storage. Thermal scans showed reinforced interior walls. The breach came fast. Locks failed. Flashbangs detonated. Resistance was brief and controlled. Comment 784 corrates if you're still following this takedown. Inside, agents found rows of reinforced containers, 784 in total, each sealed, labeled as rehabilitation equipment. False floors hid additional storage. K9 units alerted immediately. Portable analyzers confirmed high-purity fentanyl residue. The same pattern repeated at the other sites. Coordinated entry, rapid control, no chaos, just precision. Analysts on site ran capacity models as the raid unfolded. Based on crate volume and turnover, the corridor was capable of moving roughly 7.8 tons of narcotics over 2 years. Enough to poison entire regions. Enough to explain why the money moved the way it did. Encrypted scanners recovered at the sites showed outbound shipments coded under healthcare and humanitarian classifications, reducing inspections. The camouflage wasn't physical, it was bureaucratic. Type 7.8 tons if this scale shocks you. After the raids, the deeper picture emerged. 13 separate legal entities across 4 states. Different names, different sectors, but all incorporated within a 40-month window. All sharing vendors, contractors, and identical accounting behavior. Together, they controlled 57 active bank accounts. Over 5 years, more than $146 million flowed through the network. Less than 8% went to personal spending. The rest preserved capacity, leases, freight, insurance, compliance. The system didn't enrich lives, it kept itself alive. Employees rarely met the listed owners. Most were onboarded remotely, assigned narrow tasks, and paid through intermediaries. No one saw the full system. Fragmentation wasn't a flaw, it was the design. Comment $146 million if you see this as industrial-scale laundering. When the verdict vanished, the impact spread quietly. Prosecutors paused similar cases. Charges narrowed. Investigations slowed. Not because evidence disappeared, but because confidence did. Defense strategies adapted fast. Every pattern became coincidence. Every inference became uncertainty. And hesitation began shaping justice. Federal agencies moved differently. Within 36 hours, 347 bank accounts were frozen. Transfers stopped mid-cycle. Freight contracts triggered escalation. Under national security review, the focus shifted from intent to capacity. Assets were seized, infrastructure dismantled, not waiting for another verdict. Type 347 accounts. If you believe action matters more than verdicts, this case teaches a brutal lesson. When jury verdicts can be erased with a single sentence, accountability becomes optional. When fraud networks can launder $146 million through fake elder care providers, the system isn't broken, it's weaponized. And when 7.8 tons of fentanyl move through warehouses labeled as medical storage, the threat isn't criminal, it's existential. For 16 months, investigators built an airtight case. The jury convicted unanimously. The evidence was undeniable. And then, with one judicial ruling, it all vanished. Not because the fraud didn't happen, but because the system chose not to stand behind its own verdict. But while the courtroom hesitated, federal agents moved. They didn't wait for another trial. They froze 347 accounts, seized 784 crates, dismantled 13 shell companies, and exposed a narcotics corridor capable of poisoning entire regions. Because this operation proved something essential. Crime doesn't hide in alleys anymore. It hides inside systems that look clean, professional, and trustworthy. Behind elder care labels, behind humanitarian classifications, behind bureaucratic camouflage designed to avoid scrutiny. They laundered $146 million through Medicaid fraud. They moved 7.8 tons of fentanyl through medical warehouses. And for 5 years, they operated with such precision that even after a unanimous conviction, the system let them walk. But in one synchronized strike, federal agents took it all down. 3 locations, 2 states, 784 crates seized, $146 million frozen, and a message sent. When the courtroom fails, enforcement doesn't stop, it accelerates. If you believe networks that weaponize healthcare fraud deserve federal prosecution, comment "prosecute them" below. If you support the agents who exposed this corridor, tap like. And if you want me to continue uncovering how fraud funds drug empires, share this video and subscribe.